right, how's everyone doing? I'm Rich CELENZA. Thanks for checking out the Rich CELENZA Show. I got my co-host again, Robert Benenati.
Thanks for having me.
Nice. We're going to get into relationships, healthy relationships, because Robert has one.
I do, yeah.
He does. He has a wonderful relationship not only with his wife, his children, his family, his mother. And if you know anything about me, I try to help men regarding relationships, in building friendships with women, also how to date different types of women, how to put yourself at the right place at the right time to meet the types of women you desire, I guess you could say. But Robert, he's like a lot of people, he's had his ups and downs, I think, regarding relationships throughout his life. Yeah, of course. And he'll give us an honest approach. And what do you think, bottom line, not bottom line, but what do you think really helped you get to where you're at now?
Failing.
Fail forward. We always talk about it.
I would say fail fast, fail hard, and then get back up,
Yeah, for sure.
Undust yourself and move forward. Yeah, I've been through my ups and downs in divorce and everything, and I think it's learning from the mistakes.
Absolutely.
Not being afraid to fail, being okay with that, and just picking up from there and moving forward.
Yeah, I think I think everyone's going to go through that most likely. Even if you sustain a relationship for 50, 60, 70 years. Yeah, you're going to have ups and downs in that.
Ups and downs, and you have to adjust, and you have to compromise, and you have to listen, and have to be in control sometimes, There's I think it's a balance of situations, and when situations occur and knowing how to handle them. Sometimes you got to speak up, sometimes you just got to stay quiet. You have to have
patience.
Patience.
I think
that was my next word, patience. Because we live with people, and people are individuals, and they have their own temperament and character, and
mindset.
So you have to, if you love them and you want a relationship with them, you have to accept them for who they are.
Yeah.
You're not here to change anyone. You're here to live with them, learn to live with them.
Or amongst them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. I definitely think a lot of people underestimate how hard it is to be in a relationship for a substantial amount of time. Also, how hard it may be when somebody else may leave you or you lose interest in them. It's all very complicated.
One thing I could say, when I've noticed in a relationship that it's not going to work out, I learn how to stop and call it quits.
Gotcha.
Like you said, life is hard as it is, and being in a relationship with someone, you have to, beg or insist, or there's always an argument.
It's brutal.
It's not for me. I can't waste my time like that. I can't waste my energy.
It's hard. Drama.
Yeah, it's too much drama. It should flow. That means I want to be with you, you want to be with me, and we're okay, and we're here to support each other and listen to each other and help and boost and lift each other up. Fine. If we're here to do the contrary, then we're not meant to be. Just go find someone else, to fill those shoes. It's not me.
Yeah, it's a lot with relationships that I've realized over the years. It's kind of like surfing, man. You can jump on that wave and ride it, and if things are flowing, you're just going, and it's working out. It's working out. If you keep crashing on that, in that area of surfing or whatever, the board and everything, the wave keeps slamming down on you, it is time to find another area to surf or another person.
Listen, if I know you talk about a lot about, confidence and helping men find that woman, right? Now you find her, now what?
Yeah.
How do you keep her? That's the next thing, For me, it's been respect. Number one.
Yeah.
When you lose respect for each other,
of course,
that's it. It's like a broken mug. You put it together, it's not the same. Trust and respect. I always said, I learned one thing going through a divorce, and one of the questions, if I remember correctly, was, what is love, right? And back then, I gave my explanation of what I thought love is.
Right.
And the person says, well, no, Love is a decision. It's not a feeling.
Right.
When, yes, it might be instant. Okay, today, after dating this person for 2, 3, 4 months, whatever, right? Now I love this person. And you might think it's a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look back, getting to know this person, the decision of loving that person is like a jar, right? And you fill it up with admiration, respect,
Okay.
and all these other qualities.
Sure.
And I think when that jar is full, that's when you say, okay, I love the person, right?
Gotcha.
So now that's why they call it, you fell out of love when things go wrong. It's because you start taking away from that jar. So you start taking away the respect,
right,
the trust, the admiration, and all that, right?
Yeah.
And that jar starts getting empty. So that's why it's a decision. When it's full, okay, now I decided to love this person.
I gotcha.
Right? So it's not the feeling. Now the feelings are everything that's inside that jar, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So that was kind of a way they explained it to me, right?
Wow. Yeah.
So hope that helps anyone listening,
Yeah, it's good. It's interesting. Yeah, for sure. I talk about a lot of different things in my program. You got lust, right? You got love.
Yeah.
You got all these, I call it being under a spell at times, being in a relationship. I just came up with a new one. What was it? Relationship remorse. A lot of times you may get into a relationship and you have kind of like buyer's remorse. Like, how did I get involved with this?
Well, a lot of time, what happens, I think, with that is that you get involved with the feeling side, right? And the lust, everything's fine and dandy. But then when you rush into it, you don't get to know the person.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And then you start realizing, well, I don't like the way he or she, gets up in the morning and does this or does that, the way they are disorganized, the way they, whatever it is, right? And you start seeing the truth in these, in these people. Then you realize, that's when remorse comes in, right?
Yeah.
I didn't realize this. I was so caught up in the sex and the lust and in the fun we were having while we were traveling, doing whatever, and I didn't realize that living together is chaos.
And it wasn't meant to be necessarily.
Correct.
A lot of times just because you meet someone or you're with someone for a specific amount of time doesn't mean it's supposed to last forever. Also, I think a lot of people underestimate, too, being interesting as time goes on in a relationship.
Being what?
Being interesting. So like
staying interested?
Yeah, being interesting. Like, so somebody else keeps an interest in who you are and what you're doing. Because let's face it, the first couple of years, the honeymoon phase, everything's kind of interesting.
We speak, with my wife, we talk a lot about this, At the beginning, it's that thing, right? That feeling.
The less you know, the more interesting you are, right? And the more they know, the less
as you get to know someone, you
get bored.
Yeah, you know what they're going to think, what they're going to say before they say it or think it, right?
And there's no mystery to that person.
There's no mystery to that, right?
Yep.
So that is important to treat the relationship and keep it going. And you have to stay conscious. The thing is, you have to stay conscious about it, and that's what we lose is that consciousness of being present in the relationship. You work all day, whatever, but when you get home, what do? Do you sit down with your wife? Do you talk? Do you cook together? No. You probably see her cooking. You go jump on the phone, do whatever, and you're not spending the time. You're not planning, okay, in a couple of weeks I want to take her to a staycation, a hotel, or we want to travel somewhere. Make it interesting.
Exactly.
Right? Keep that mystery going. Where is he going to take me next week? And it could be as simple as, listen, I planned something to go to a state park or just go for a hike or just change it up.
Exactly. Going to places you've never been before, taking different journeys. I think men and women get confused because if you do something out of the ordinary, you're going to be judged. Like, why is he doing that? Like, wait a minute, why is he all of a sudden interested in doing something different? Then on the other hand, if you keep doing the same old shit because you don't want to rattle the chain, like we only go to the same restaurants, we only
change it up, man.
Right,
you have to change it up.
You become redundant. I saw some weird thing regarding how a lot of women perceive men when they become a father, for instance. and how, after one kid or two kids, like how they start to fall into this dorky dad. Because a lot of times we talk about moms, right? They become these, after they have one or two kids, a lot of men are looking at these moms a certain way, or their wives, I should say, I'm sorry, or other people. But they don't a lot of times look at the father. And a lot of times these fathers don't realize that how dorky or uninteresting they become after a certain amount of time. They kind of just do the same thing, going to work, have the same type of conversations, hanging out with the exact same type of people, kind of watching the same type of shows, where the boredom truly sets in. Not only
because you're not aware, you're not conscious about and being present about that, and you don't realize, wait a minute. I used to, when I met her, I was working out, I was looking good, I was, keeping up. And now look at me, I got a belly, I don't take care of myself, I don't, get a regular haircut, I'm not always looking sharp, that beats up on your confidence, on your self-esteem, right? And like they say, it's never green, the grass is never green on the other side. Right? It's just that on the other side, they're watering the grass more often, right? And you're not watering your grass. That's basically it. It's it's still grass. It's what you do with it. So what I'm trying to say with that is take a conscious look at yourself first and what you're not doing and versus what you used to do and how you used to do things.
Yeah.
Okay?
No, I see it. Yeah.
For us, it's, for men, it's usually physical. Right? But women, when women decide maybe to cheat on men or just break up in a relationship, it took a while for them to get there, to that point.
Yeah.
Okay?
It's like a divorce. You should have probably divorced 2-3 years before you get a divorce.
It takes longer for a woman to make that decision than men, right? Because men is more physical. I'm not attracted to her. She's not taking care of herself, blah, blah, blah.
Whatever.
Right. But for a woman... And then the hard part is that when she makes that decision, it's hard for her to go back on it. So,
you think?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. When a woman says that's it, that's usually it at that point. And it's the simple things. It's not maybe for a guy. Yeah, I lost interest in her sexually, right?
Yeah.
But it's more than sex.
Yeah, of course. If that's how much sex are you actually having a lot of times to say that was
it's the attention. It's you listening to her. Yeah. Are you keeping things spontaneous? Are you being mysterious? Are you...
No one wants to take blame a lot of times for the relationship not working. Let's call for what it is on either side.
Right. And sometimes they say, well, I don't feel like this. Well, maybe if you make her feel a certain way, she'll make you feel a different way.
Absolutely.
Right? So we're always waiting for the other person to take the first... make the first change or do the first, take the first step. But maybe if you start with simple things.
The simplest things are the best.
Then in return, she will realize that and then give you back where you're missing or where you need.
Some people are just resent one another too. Instead of making things better, I talk about it, they sabotage their relationship. You'll even hear someone, you'll see after someone gets divorced a lot of times, if I said, hey, even my friends, hey, they're getting divorced, why don't you lose some weight? You're way overweight. I ain't going to lose weight for her. I'm not talking about her. I'm talking about you. Why don't you do something different regarding anything? And they almost throw it on their wife or their husband that they were the reason why also they didn't do certain things. There's always kind of this blame game after a certain
And it's funny,
amount of
they divorce, right? And they're both overweight, and as soon as they divorce, they both go to the gym, they start looking great.
That's what I was just going to say.
Why didn't you do it while you were together?
For one another. That's one of the things, especially and even job-wise or anything, or become more interesting, take on... I kind of fell in that category a little bit too. I became a Mr. Mom, and then I got very aggravated. My ex-wife didn't make me Mr. Mom. That was all my decisions. Right. I can't be mad at something that I did and then resent somebody else for something that I created. Right. And a lot of times we don't want to admit that.
Take responsibility.
Yeah, it could be a career. It could be whatever the hell it is. You can't always... The blame game's got to end in relationships, I think.
Pay attention to the relationship. I think
take your time, man.
That's the other one. Pay attention to the relationship. You end up assuming that the other person is going to make always the first move or the first change, or hey, sit down, take her for dinner, take him for dinner, sit down, tell him really how you feel. Communication is big.
Yeah, and stop
because you can't assume
arguing.
That the other person knows what you're feeling and what you want.
Absolutely. Stop. Basically, to learn how to shut up at times, you can argue over anything after a while, like literally anything. Let's call it, I don't care if me and you are in this office every day, we can start nitpicking each other to death. Anyone can. But if you want this to last, also look at the way your behavior is in front of your kids, look at in front of your in-laws, your siblings, and you can see it with other people's relationships when you're around them. You don't even want to be around them. Can you imagine having to be married to one of them? But it's relationships. It's a long game. It is not easy. So
I once asked this guy, what I think he was married like 48 years. I said, can you tell me a secret of, what'd you do to last this long? He says, well, I was never home. He was a pilot, actually.
Right.
He was like, I was never home. So there wasn't enough time to, argue and fight. And then when I was home, it was good to be home.
Sure.
So he was back to listening, what's going on, talking, going out for doing whatever he needed to do.
Yep.
So I think the fact that he was never home, and when he did come back, he was looking forward to it.
I went through that with Rhea for like 10 years. Absolutely. When you're gone, people kind of desire you to be back. Then when you're back, they're
good.
happy you're back, but then when
you got space
you're wanted.
again, and then you got space again. Yeah,
it's even friendships. If I travel all the time, my friends always want to have dinner with me. If I'm around town, no one's got time for me, right? Who gives a shit? He's right around the corner.
He's right here.
Yeah, he's right here. Relationships. I learned one thing from Rhea, I will say, is somebody who knows when, say somebody's having a rant or venting, not to go to war with them. Just listen.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean she's agreeing with me. She's listening, and then when she has her rant, I'm just listening. I'm not there to retaliate. That could be with anything.
We tend to retaliate and defend ourselves right away.
Who can? And most of the things you're arguing
listening
over, yes, we want to fight instead of just acknowledging. All they want you to do is listen, and believe me, we're not going to all have the same beliefs. I don't care who you're with.
So the very few times my wife and I had a disagreement, right? And she's the talker. She wants to talk it out.
Right.
And there's times not right now.
Right.
Because maybe I'm heated and I don't want to say anything I'm going to regret. That's another one. Learn to pick your battles and when to say what you need to say.
Words hurt, man.
Yes, and you can't take it back.
No, and they ain't gonna forget. No. That's a diary in the head.
That's it, man. It's recorded. It's engraved in
We'll
their
forget.
heads.
I think a lot of men forget.
I think we forget. We just whatever. But not women, right? And I learned. I always did this. I would never argue when I'm heated because I never want to say something. So she didn't understand at the beginning, right? Why I just kept my mouth shut and just let her talk and then leave. Yeah. And then I would talk to her a day or two later. Yep. That's how long it took me to calm,
that's smart. I always say that 24, 48 hour calm down period.
And she was like, what? And then the more she wanted, the less I wanted to talk, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to say something harmful. And now she totally understands.
Right.
It's not the silent treatment. I'm not going to say something because if I do, you're not going to like it and I can't take it back. So leave it alone. Leave me alone. Give me my time.
Yes.
Give me a day or two and I'll,
Yep. If you go back 20 years, you would have been in an argument. Who the hell knows what that leads to?
Well, it led me to whatever it led me to.
Led you to divorce.
Led me here, right? To someone else.
Yes.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I learned to just, I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah.
Just, I get it. I'm listening. Take a deep breath.
Yep.
Leave the house. Go do something else.
Right.
Don't be resentful, meaning I come back, I still give her a kiss and hi and whatever, before going to bed. And we could talk about something else, but not about the subject. Leave it alone.
Right. Communication is the key to any relationship.
And that's still
how you communicate.
And it's still communication.
Of course.
It's not timely communication. I don't want to talk about it right now. It's give me time because I don't want to say something.
Right. And it gives you time to think about what you want to say too instead of immediately reacting.
That's
she's.
But that's been even in business.
I agree.
Even in business, if I have to make a decision or they're putting me on the spot, I'd rather say, you know what, I don't have the information for that, but let me find out and I'll get back with you.
Yep.
And I'll think about it, or I go learn about it, or I, ask someone else.
Yes.
And think about my response instead of just saying anything and then getting myself in trouble, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So sometimes learn to say less.
Yeah. Learn to observe.
and listen,
Yeah, and
right?
pay attention to your own behavior too.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't worry. If somebody else is overreacting, that doesn't mean you have to overreact. Just because they're yelling at you doesn't mean you automatically have to yell back. I'm not saying you have to be taken advantage of. But.
If that person is coming up to you saying, your girlfriend, your wife, or vice versa, your husband or boyfriend, and they come into you to complain about something, it was their moment to speak.
Mm.
Meaning, just be quiet, listen, and don't try to say, well, you this and you that too, because you're just going to go into an argument, and then it's a battle of who wants to win in that moment, and it's not about winning because you're both going to lose. It's about, okay, he came up to me, so it's his turn to talk because he came up to me or she came up to me.
Yeah.
All right, let me listen. What is it? Well, you this, you that. I feel like this. I feel like that. I feel like that. All right, you know what? You said what you had to say. Let me digest it, and I'll get back with you.
Right.
Right? Okay, she said, leave the house or whatever, go for a walk and say, okay, she said I don't do this. Well, you know what? She's right, Because right away, if I had to argue, you this too and you that, and we're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah,
right?
If you keep pointing out each other's flaws.
Yeah. So, okay, you know what? You're right. I should do more of this, more of that. I should, whatever it is.
Right.
Or do less of this or less of that.
Yeah.
You're right. You know what? You're right. I heard you. And then not accepting and coming back, and now you pointing at her, this is not going to work. Accept what she said to you.
At that point in time.
And then wait your turn another day to then you sit down and say, you know what? Last week I heard everything you said, and I was thinking about it. I had a week to think about it. And I feel this way too.
Right. It's a different tone, maybe in a different location. It could be at dinner, at a restaurant.
Yeah, it's totally different.
Totally different approach.
You come in with a different approach because it took you a week to accept what he or she told you about you.
Yep.
That you admitted to it over time. It took you a week to really, truly admit to it, right? And say, you know what? She's right, or he's right.
Right.
I really act like a jerk here, or really do too much of this, too much of that, too little of this, too little of that, and she deserves more, he deserves more. I should be more appreciative, whatever the case is. And then you could go back a week later. I really listened to what you said, and you were absolutely right. And this is how I feel, too.
Right.
And the reason I'm saying this is because, I really appreciate you. And I did listen to what you had to say, and I just want to express my feelings as well. This way we can make our relationship stronger, whatever, right? That's an example.
Yeah, it's an honest approach.
But it's an honest approach.
Honest.
And that person, he or she, is going to listen. Now it's her or his turn to listen.
Right.
Because they already went at it with you. So now they have to sit there and take it.
Right. It doesn't mean you have to scream at them.
No.
Obviously. Just because you got screamed at.
You're not, because now you feel that you gave time to the whole situation. They said what they had to say. You accepted it. You made the changes. You communicated, and now it's your turn. And you're going to come at a different tone because you're not defending yourself no more. Now you're just sharing your feelings.
Yeah.
Or your thoughts.
Yep.
Right. So
I look at it too. Like a lot of times, is this argument worth having? Number one. Number two, is this argument even worth winning? Because a lot of arguments, regardless if you win or lose, what was the outcome?
There is no win in arguments. There is no win in fights. Listen,
it's brutal.
It's even in a physical fight. Two men, right?
No one ever wins.
No one wins. One is going to end up hurt. The other one is in jail. The
Usually
one is
both
going to
end
be
up hurt.
sued, and the other one's going to end up.
Yeah.
There's never no win. There is no win in fighting and arguing.
And there's a difference between a fun argument, if you're arguing over your favorite sports teams, or you're out to lash and hurt each other's feelings to demean one another.
Correct.
So if you're in a relationship where you're always demeaning or making somebody else feel inferior or scared of you, or
not just bullying and being,
and all of that, so there's a total different element to that. So,
well, that's a good one.
It's a good one.
Healthy relationships.
All right.
Work at it.
Yeah, that's. If you want to know more about who I am, richcelenza.com, my program, where I try to help men regarding relationships to the best of my ability, opinion-based. I don't know if anybody got anything that's factual when it comes to anybody's relationship, but masteringselfconfidence.com, Robert jumps on these with me sometimes and tackles these subjects. I appreciate that.
Well, thank you for having me here.
Yeah, because he takes an honest... I'm at your place. Thank you for having me here.
Well, having me on your show in my place.
I jump in his studio. He's got everything set up. He doesn't do his podcast now. I have nothing set up, and I do podcasts.
You do podcasts in your closet. I don't know.
I do them everywhere. I could do them in a car. I have no fear of doing them anywhere. I'll do them in a bathroom for all I give a shit, to be honest with you. As long as I get the information out there. So, if you got any questions or comments, hit me up. And that's it for today. Take care, everyone.